Hello everybody! Today I have another LEGO review video for you all. Hooray! And I know it's been over 2 weeks again since I've last posted a video. I'm sorry. I might just make this my new schedule. I just post every other week and just do a double upload. Something like that. I don't know. I've just grown busy ever since the school year started back up. Today's video, it's a LEGO review, but it's not an actual LEGO product this time. I thought I'd expand my I thought I'd expand a little bit and just show off something that's not Transformers or comic book related. So today I wanted to do a video on not just one, but three Pokemon. So this set is the Mega Construx Pokemon Character Evolution set. Now, it does not say any of the names, so if you did not know much about Pokemon, you wouldn't really know any of these characters. Doesn't really say the name anywhere, but it's got 313 pieces, ages 7 and up. And I'd just like to point out that Mega Bloks have renamed themselves to Mega Construx randomly. I'm pretty sure if you look at the bricks, it still says Mega Bloks, but I don't know. Also, I have Ant-Man here just to show the size of it. Review coming soon. Anyways, despite the size of the box, this set is actually quite small. Well, the 313 pieces is actually quite a small brick number, and especially the size is actually quite small, saying that this Ant-Man figure is actually less at 290 pieces, and it's somehow bigger than all of this combined. Anyways, enough of Ant-Man and into the actual set. So this is the entire set before you. We get the Charmander evolutionary chain, or whatever you want to call it, and then this rock formation that has really no. We'll talk about that later. Now, I just like a little disclaimer here. I am not a Pokemon professional. I don't know everything about Pokemon, but I know enough to know who these guys are. Kind of. So the first character in the evolutionary chain is this little cutie, and his name is Charmander. Yeah, he was one of the original starters in the first few Pokemon games. And yeah, he's a little fire dragon. He doesn't have wings yet because he's still tiny and young and doesn't have wings yet. And he's got a little tail with a little flame piece on it. And I'm actually kind of curious how the flame continues to, because there's actual fire on his tail. I'm kind of curious on how the fire continues to be lit as he walks around. Actually, fun fact, it's kind of dark, but if the flame goes out, apparently the Charmander in question, well, you know. But anyways, keep it lighthearted. So he's got a little print on his face, and it's actually the only printed piece on this entire character. And it's got a cute little expression. It's just a normal expression. You can get ones with like different expressions, like an open mouth or a winking face. I do have one with a winking face. Mega Bloks does make all sorts of different variants of them, so if you get enough of these, you could probably animate like some sort of talking scene, or even though they don't talk, they only say their name. But I guess you could animate them saying their name or doing stuff. So it's quite posable. He's got arms, his arms and legs move, his head moves. The joints are pretty stiff. Mega Bloks joints are kind of stiff. Yeah. Something I like about them, they don't break as easily as Legos do. Mega Bloks kind of uses a slightly softer plastic. It's not as rigid and brittle as normal Lego, which is something it's kind of like the bane of my existence, Lego having such brittle Lego pieces. But yeah, it's quite small. Here's a Hulk figure for comparison. Yeah, he's quite cute, and I feel like his Well, the sizing is not really that great because a Charmander is supposed to be tiny. But yeah, if this was the size of a person, this would still be not the best sizing. But whatever. The next character in the evolutionary chain is Charmeleon. And I wouldn't be too surprised if you didn't recognize this guy immediately. At least if you're not a big Pokemon fan. I'm not a big Pokemon fan. But yeah, this character, Charmeleon, he kind of gets swept under the rug when it comes to the Charmander evolution chain. Because with the chain, you start with Charmander, so you almost always see his face because you always start with him. But once you get a Charmander, you want to evolve it into a Charizard. So this is kind of the least important part of it, because while a Charmander is cute, and you always see a Charmander because it's always the first thing you get, so you always see it. And so then you kind of quickly skip to this guy because after you get a Charmander, you want a Charizard. So Charmeleon kind of gets swept under the radar because when you get a Charmander, you want to evolve it into a Charizard, and nobody really. I don't think Charmeleon has any benefits besides he's gonna turn to a Charizard. But yeah. Speaking of which, he is probably also the worst part of the set. Probably got the worst proportions of it, and Mega Bloks is kind of hit or miss when it comes to Pokemon proportioning them. It's either fantastic or probably shouldn't have even bothered. But this is probably an example of probably shouldn't even bothered because it's I don't know, the body is weirdly puffy and bulky, looks a little chubby. His legs are weirdly stubby and don't hold him up at all. His tail is fine. I'm okay with his tail. His arms, they're pretty accurate. I know he's got weirdly kind of blocky arms. And his head, when I first saw it, it did look weirdly long. But the more I look at it, the less weird it gets. And I don't know if this is just a problem with mine or if it's just how the character looks, but the eyes seem to be placed weirdly low down. I don't know. It could just be a problem with mine. The third character in this set is probably the most recognizable of the three. I don't think this character really needs any introduction. This is obviously Bowser. I'm just kidding. It's Charizard. Probably, besides Pikachu, probably like the second most iconic Pokemon. Especially in like older, like when Pokemon first came out, like he was right alongside Pikachu, like the biggest, like the second most iconic character. It's probably my favorite out of the set. He's got the most flexibility, probably the most accurate of the three. He's got the most accurate proportions. Size comparison, here's the Hulk. And I again like to comment that I feel like the sizing is just a little off. He is supposed to be a large character, but a matter of fact, one thing I learned is that Charizard is officially not even 6 feet tall. He is shorter than 6 feet. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I just know that he's under 6 feet. Which means that he would be shorter than most actors and famous people. Which is funny to think because in the shows and games, he's normally depicted as being well over 7 feet tall, like towering over all the human characters in the shows. But he's less than 6 feet tall, which means that either everyone is under 3 feet tall or they just don't really care. It's probably the cleanest build out of the three. Like, these ones aren't too bad. Like, Charmander, he's weirdly blocky. Like, this is not exactly what he looks like. His proportions are a little different. Like, his body's supposed to be a little taller. And his arms supposed to be thinner and, I guess, longer, kind of. I don't know. But Charizard, he's probably the most accurate because not only is he the biggest, so you can get more detail out of him, but he's also quite posable. Like, he's got ball joints in the legs, ball joints on the feet. Pretty much every joint is a ball joint, except for his hinging jaw, which actually his jaw, or in his mouth, he's got this little, comes with this little fire accessory. It's supposed to look like he's shooting flames out, although it kind of looks like electricity. Kind of wish it was orange instead of yellow, just to show that it was fire and not electricity. Probably my favorite part of this character has to be the very realistic and kind of organic looking wings. So there's a ball joint here at the base, which allows you to move it. And then there's a ball joint halfway through, which allows you to pose it. And you can get very, very natural looking poses, like here, there, they are kind of folded up. And then you can extend it. One problem is that Mega Bloks. So the good thing about Mega Bloks is that they use a softer plastic. It's not as brittle and hard as Legos, which is really annoying. Very brittle plastic. It breaks very easily, especially a lot of the smaller clip pieces. But Mega Bloks, they use like a softer plastic, so it's a little more malleable, so you can get more, so you get the ball joints to mess around a little more. But the problem with this is that the ball joints do pop out a little more easily. And in one of my last takes, this is not the first take, I was constantly fiddling with him, and he would just fall apart. Like, his arms would constantly fall off, his wings were falling off. I actually do have an older Mega Bloks Charizard. I think he's a little bigger and a little more blocky. His head was brick built and his mouth was not able to open. And he had brick built wings and not these flexible rubber ones. And I actually do prefer the rubbery ones, because at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a rubber piece. And most often in Lego sets, when you get a piece that's not brick built or anything, it's kind of annoying to deal with, and you just wish it was like a static brick piece or something, or even just like its own custom piece. But with this set, I actually do like it a lot, because it does give it a little more realistic. Gives it a lot more of a realistic feel. It just looks a lot more realistic. You get some flying poses out of it. Why would a dragon make airplane noises? Never mind. Also, this set comes with a little base to put them all on. It's a very basic base. Okay. It feels a little out of place. I don't know, the building techniques kind of change randomly. Like, so in the middle we have this very simple rock formation. It looks pretty nice. But then down lower we have more of a plate-like structure, which doesn't feel like it fits together. It feels a little out of place. Then we have this random smooth rock, which is made out of a Charmander face piece, if you look closely, which also feels out of place. Then you have this weird thing which kind of feels man-made and not natural, if that makes any sense. That feels out of place. And then these random fireballs that are just sitting here. Looks like a glop of some sort of gloop or something, or like some sort of mid-splash, like frozen in time. I don't know, it just feels a little out of place, and it really only exists to prop the characters on. Like, so we have Charmeleon, Charmander, and Charizard. And probably the biggest problem with this base, and is actually kind of a problem with a lot of these Mega Bloks Pokemon sets, is that with Charizard up here, or any flying character that gets put on a base like this, they get put on this tiny little hard plastic pole. I did say that Mega Bloks uses a more flexible plastic, but again, this is still a stiff, hard plastic, and plastic should not wobble. That is not good. The set did come with 2 poles, and there are 2 pegs on Charizard, so you could put 2, make it a little less wobbly, but it still is quite wobbly. It's kind of a thing that has happened in other Mega Bloks sets. So I don't very often put him on the base, but it does look kind of cool with him up there. I don't know. It looks good for... I wouldn't leave it like this because it would probably wear this out and eventually break. But if I were to give any suggestions for proper displaying, I would take Charizard off and then leave him aside with his flame pieces like this. This is probably the more appropriate way and safe way to display them like this. Probably even cooler because you see the full evolutionary chain. I guess if you really wanted, you can give one or 2 smaller ones some invisible lightsabers with these extra poles. I lost this one for a second. Yeah, if you really wanted, you could give Charmander and Charmeleon some invisible lightsabers and have them fight to the death. I have the high ground. No, you don't. Don't you dare. Wow. 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 I love you, but I don't anymore. Goodbye. So my final thoughts on the set would be, it's a fun set, but I do feel that it's a little overpriced for the size. So it was like $25, $27 something dollars or something like that. It was over $20, and for this size, it feels a little small. I don't know, it kind of feels a little meh. I think it's the base. I think the base is just, it was thrown in there to kind of bump up the price so they could consider it a 300 piece set. Because although it is 300 pieces, this Ant-Man figure that I got, which was like 20 something dollars as well, was 200 pieces, and it's actually a lot bigger. It's like way bigger than all this combined. But this is only like 289 pieces, so like 30 pieces less. So this has less pieces and is bigger. This has more pieces and is smaller. And just a little strange. I feel like if I were to design this set, I would get rid of the base. Maybe have a couple stands for the characters, like just like a little base plate for them to stand on. Like, you know how the collectible minifigures do. I would have that, and then just put it at a $20 set. Okay. I would recommend this for like a gift for a younger kid. It's a simple set to build. It's pretty basic and fun. The instructions are kind of hard to read. It was a little annoying, but it's not too hard. It's ages 7 and up, so I'd probably buy this for a younger kid. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more Pokemon Mega Bloks related videos, I do plan on making more, but if you want to see more, subscribe. And I plan to do this Ant-Man figure for my next video, or I have other of these buildable figures, like I have Iron Man, Ant-Man, and I pretty much have every other buildable figure like this. So if you want to see a review one of those guys, please subscribe. And until next video, bye bye.